From the city of Peaky Blinders, Birmingham, England, I would like to introduce you to Paddy Danda.
As the world becomes more automated and the robots take over, it's imperative that we build the right human skills for the future. So pull up a chair, grab a samosa or two, and make yourself very uncomfortable. So, Yvette, tell me more about this recent accolade you got, being named as one of the top 30 women to watch out for in 2022. How did that come about? And tell us more about that.
Okay. So I recently launched a program called Handstand Confidently. And in that program, I'm really trying to teach an embodied practice. So how many people can actually do handstands? I'm very aware of this, right? Exactly. Not too many people. But this program, I want to teach more than just handstands. It's an embodied practice, as I mentioned, and I really focus it actually towards the beginner handstander. The person who maybe is interested in doing it, but, just needs guidance, or someone who's been trying to practice it, maybe can start to kick up to the wall, but doesn't really have technique to really refine the practice and to make it their own just yet. So I'm really targeting those folks and folks who are committed, and to see that this is a practice. This could be a practice beyond just, okay, I nailed a handstand and now I'm going to go in my bikini and post a photo of me in a handstand on a beach for Instagram. Instagram can be great for many things. As I said, we were able to connect through it, but sometimes people post stuff. It's like, okay, cool. But then it's just like a pretty picture, right? So it's more.
There's no danger of me doing that. So folks, if you're listening or you're watching, just get that thought out of your head.
So it's really for the person who is okay with working really hard for a very long time and not seeing so much results right away. And that's, I think, a challenge in and of itself culturally, right? Because everything's on demand. Everything's like Amazon Prime, it's like Netflix, everything is on demand and it's hard. YouTube, right? It's hard for us to slow down and really work at a pace and work consistently over a very long period of time. And that's where you see the progress happen. So with that said, I launched this Handstand Confidently, and my mission is to empower individuals with this embodied practice and help them to believe in themselves, right? Because when you first tell someone, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do handstand, you're interested, right? And he's like, yeah. But can I really do it? Right? Like if I said, Paddy, would you want to go up in a handstand? Would that be cool?
It would be cool because, I could then show all of my friends and, impress them, or even my kids, probably. Yeah. That'd be my first judge. But don't you need lots of physical upper strength to be able to do that?
You do, and we build it over time. Yeah. But the single most thing I think you need to actually do it is to believe in yourself. And so that is the main purpose of what I'm trying to do. I want them to believe in themselves and their abilities to hone in their power. So it's not just like, I believe in myself and I'm going to go full force, full out, We're going to develop a training program, right? So I can see where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and I'm going to work with you to improve both, to really get you to a good place. Because handstand, it's so individual, right? It's different for everyone because everyone's body is a little different. Everyone's physical ability is a little bit different. Everyone's starting point, skill level wise, is a little different. And your goals might be different too. So I really like to have, like you, my eyes on the client. I have some videos, but those are not of the handstands themselves. When we're doing the actual handstands, it's live. I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. We're having a dialogue conversation so that I can really be present with you. And it's super important that you do have that presence, the individual who's practicing and also the coach, right? So to keep yourself safe and healthy. Yeah. So I launched this program to do just that, to help individuals gain confidence in themselves, hone their abilities, work towards a goal with purpose. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to focus on one thing and work towards that goal in the right direction. and really have the discipline, right? To show up every day and to practice. Some days are going to be better than others, right? Some days you'll come into practice and you'll, start to do your drills and it's like, why am I not progressing? And there may not be anything wrong. You may be doing everything right. It's just that the practice takes time. And so the lesson isn't about the cues themselves. It's about developing patience, the patience with yourself, the patience for the practice and the discipline to keep going, right? Because everything we do on the mat, on the handstands or in yoga, it's transferable outside of that. While you can escape my class, while you can skip my class for a day thinking, okay, maybe I'm just not going to do it today. I'm tired or etc. And you can say that to yourself. You cannot escape your family. You cannot escape your work if you're working for somebody else, or especially if you're working for yourself, right? You can't escape these things. You have to show up, even if you know that you're tired, even if you know that it's not going to be your best. So what I'm trying to develop is the discipline to show up and also a growth mindset. And I think that just seeing my clients have all these little mini successes so far gives them inspiration and hope and gives me inspiration and motivation to keep going. And once they see it, like, oh my gosh, I kicked up to the wall for the first time and it took me months to do that, or some people are just learning to keep their legs straight as they jump, instead of like jumping and then praying to the handstand gods that they stick it. Which is, it's totally normal, right? But then when you can actually jump and like keep your legs straight, you can actually land that handstand. So it takes time. As you said, you need to develop the upper body strength for it. There's going to be some core strength involved. You have to engage everything in your body from your fingertips to your toes. I mean that quite literally and metaphorically, so it's physical, it's mind, body, spirit. It's really everything. It's mental. It's definitely half of it is mental, I think.
Oh, I love that. I think just the way you've explained it there, like when you first told me and you were like, oh, I help people do handstands, I was like, why would you do? But then when you put it in that way, that it's a journey and it's not that the handstand is just the end product, right? It's the whole experience of getting to that level. And I love the way that becomes a tangible goal that people can actually touch and feel. It's not like something that's just, in your mind. It's a physical thing that you can actually prove to yourself and show others. I love that. I think that's such a cool idea. How did you even come up with that idea? What led you to that?
That's a great question. I think this was during the pandemic, actually. I had been practicing handstand for a couple of years, I really just became addicted to it. I mean, there's no other word. It was like I got my first sense of like being up in the air and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like such a high to be like floating in space. It's amazing. And so I just kept chasing after that and after that. And then, the pandemic hit, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, I am so busy. I'm so busy. I'm teaching online. I have my clients. And then I have my home life, right? I'm taking care of my 2 children and homeschooling them. Thank you. It's like, I love to teach, but when it's your own kids, it's really hard. It's like yet another chore for them that you're asking them to do. And so that became a challenge. And I found myself thinking, okay, I could give this up. Or I could keep going and really have this integrity to my practice. Because I would often say, like, you're going to find your edge, right? In a yoga pose, you might find your edge. Like, that's the point where it's like, okay, I can do this, but it's a little uncomfortable now. It's like breathing. My breath is no longer steady and even. It's like, it's not withheld, but it's like, it's starting to get challenging now. And so I came upon that with COVID, as I'm sure many other people have as well. And I said to myself, okay, I'm going to keep going. I chose to because that high was so addictive, just floating up in space. And I said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to keep going. And so I kept practicing. When I could get it first thing in the morning, I would try to beat the children, beat them waking up. And I would set my alarm earlier and then they would get up earlier and I would get up earlier and they would get up earlier. And I said, this is impossible because now I'm up at like 4:30 in the morning and that's just like, I need my rest, you know? And so I would try to find pockets of time, but if I could find it in the morning, that was my best time to practice. I would, do the cooking, cleaning, homeschooling thing during the day. And then when everybody's asleep at night, then I would try to practice then. If I couldn't get in the morning, I would try to practice at the end of the day. And that was a lot harder, but that was my mental challenge. And I said, no, I'm gonna do this. And it's literally just willpower. It's like mind over matter. And, obviously, if it's like 11 o'clock at night, you have to use your common sense and say, am I just going to injure myself at this point? Is it just better to rest? But as much as possible, if it was like 8:30, 9:30, I would practice for an hour and just do it. And it was so messy. It was so not ideal. It challenged me in every way, like physically and mentally, just missing things. And I'm like, I've landed this before, but I can't get it today because I am so exhausted and I am so frustrated. And in those moments, I realized in myself, having that inner witness, seeing to myself, okay, this is actually just the mind. This is actually just a story. So just show up, do your numbers, and then be done with the day. And so I kept going. I did exactly that. I just did my numbers and I was like, okay, namaste, I'm going to bed now. I'm stretching and I'm going to bed. And little did you know, some of those practices, it was in the very last handstand. It was in the very last kick or that very last minute that I got it. And that gave me the motivation to just keep going. It wasn't every time, but there were some times when I really surprised myself. Oh, that was the last one. I'm exhausted. And that was my best. Wow. So it just proved to me that having the courage to just keep to it, just stick with it, just commit with it, just keep going. The prize is on the other side. It's right on the other side. And, nobody else saw that. I wish I were recording. Oh my gosh, Patty, how many times did I say to myself, I wish I recorded that. That was so good. But it didn't matter because that's the universe's way of saying you're on the right path. This is a sign that you are on the right path. Just keep at it. And the more I kept at it, the more I became consistent with it. The more consistent with it, the more confident I had, the more confidence I had in myself, the more confidence I had in the practice and in my own abilities. So it's really just the cycle of everything, right? If you show up for it, you see the progress happen over time. It's a long time, but you do see the progress. If you focus on doing the right thing at the right time, doing the right work with the right purpose, with the right goal in mind, you're going to advance. It might be slow, but you're going to advance. And then just having the courage just to stick with it, to believe in yourself, even when no one else does. Even when it's like, okay, how old are you, Yvette? And you're doing handstands. That's crazy. 10-year-olds do that. But, me being a big kid and I'm a child at heart, this is what I love to do and believe in it and have fun with it. It just leads to other wonderful things. And so for me, I wanted to share this. I just did. I thought this was so cool. I found this in myself and I felt so powerful. Really, if I could do this when I'm tired and I have everything else going on and I'm doing it during COVID, I know I can do many other hard things and I can do so much more with it. And I can help others overcome their obstacles and their points of transition and help them to believe in themselves, And I found, that I don't want to talk too much about it today, but there's always been a confidence gap, I think, between men and women. And I don't have the research to show that for you today, but definitely it's been written up in many articles. Yeah, that it just comes more naturally to men. I think probably because of our culture, right? Like women are just so conditioned to be a little bit more giving and more accommodating, and men are conditioned to be like, go get it, you're more aggressive, just even like negotiating for salary alone, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's definitely a confidence gap there. And so I thought, and so many things like the confidence in teenagers, right? In their looks. I used to work, just to backtrack a little bit, I used to work in corporate marketing many years ago, and I worked in the beauty industry. And so I've done research, even like, gosh, 12 years ago. And just to see like the different ways that women see themselves and what they view as confident and not in terms of beauty products is astounding. And so I wanted to be a force of light, if you will, and help particularly women, although I'm very open to anyone with any kind of background to join my class. It's very inclusive. But I thought for those who identify themselves as women, especially, to help them see the value in themselves, you know, beyond what they might have perceived in the past is powerful. As I said, I grew up, I was born in the Philippines and I grew up here, but obviously like first generation, my parents were immigrants. I'm an immigrant, and, we still have a little bit of that mentality and that gap. And so there's one part that's a generational gap. Like women are supposed to be like this. And then there's also the being Asian gap. Women are supposed to be like that. And you're supposed to have done this and da, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And even growing up, just the color of my skin, like I'm a little bit tanner. And I was like, oh, you whitening products in your face. And maybe you would know because you're Indian, right? And so maybe you have
100%.
Indian women trends are like, oh, white is better. And like, it's like, why can't I just be comfortable in my own skin?
Yeah, you're right. It's always the thing that you don't have. Like my white friends, they're all like, oh, I want to get a tan. I want to be more tanned. And we're like, we're staying out the sun. We don't want to get any tan. We're good. We want to get whiter. And it's like, it's just that thing that is human nature. But the point you made about kind of men and women, and absolutely, there's bags of research out there. I was speaking to a friend of mine. She's telling me how like even some of these larger phones now, like the iPhone, whatever it's called, the Max or whatever they call it. But a lot of those products, they're designed with male hands in mind, right? They don't even design them for women. And most of those phones are uncomfortable because the shape of a woman's hand and, the size it's just not compatible. So everywhere we turn, we can see examples of this literally the police, they wear the stab-proof jackets. Mm-hmm. Well, there's research behind that to show that more women officers get stabbed than male. And it's because some of those jackets aren't designed for the female body. They're just not giving that level of protection. And I absolutely get it. And my daughter, I have a daughter who's 12, and I see it in her always, there is this confidence, I wouldn't say issue, but there's definitely a difference there. And I don't want her to grow up like that. So, anything that can boost that it can only be good. So I'm conscious of time, Yvette. I know we've taken up so much of your time and we're running close to the end of the episode. I just wanted to get 2 bits of advice from you. So if you could tell your younger self some words of wisdom, what might they be?
Oh, just believe in yourself. Yeah. Having been an immigrant, I suffered a year of hardship the first year that I was here, the first 3 years, really. My father stayed in the Philippines for monetary reasons. He was helping my grandparents financially, and my mother lived and worked in Jersey. I lived with my grandmom and 7 uncles in one house, if you can imagine that. And
Wow.
so I learned to be independent very quickly. And there were times when I felt really lonely, really all alone. And I was an only child. I was an only child at the time as well.
Me
So,
too. Me too.
and so I think, you know, I know I gained a lot of inner strength during that period, and it was hard. It was really hard. Then I think, like, if I could tell my younger self, I say just believe in yourself, and everything's gonna turn out just fine. And it has. I mean, when I have worked with my clients, and I've helped them to believe in themselves, I'll get emails back saying, I got that promotion. And it was because of your class. It was because I found that inner strength in your class and I just applied it, that I got that promotion, super competitive title, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen clients get up into their first handstands and held it for like 3 seconds and like, amazing. I never thought I could do that. And then I'm showing it to my daughter and I'm like, hey, mama can do a handstand. So it's like super cool. And had I not believed in myself that I could pursue this and I could do this throughout COVID, I would not have seen that kind of result. And it's powerful, and for those who, couldn't do handstands or really didn't have the desire to do handstands, other like of my yoga students would come back to me saying, that one class where you talked about equanimity and you talked about like coming from a place of groundedness and being pulled in opposite directions, but like not reacting, remember that class? And I said, yeah. And this one guy, many years later, came up to me on the street. He just like saw me. He's like, flagged me down. I was like, hey, you remember me from class? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, remember I used to go to your class with my wife. Yeah. And he goes, well, we divorced since then. But I wanted to tell you that we divorced amicably because of you. I really took all your teachings to heart and I was able to navigate that through equanimity and just settle everything very peacefully, very amicably. And even though we separated in our ways, I remained friends with her. So I thought that was powerful, especially because between the two of them, she showed up more. I was like, oh my gosh, this is powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the ability to really tap into that human spirit and to go just beyond the physical practice, beyond everything else, and just help someone in a time of need really accomplish what they want to accomplish. And like just unleash their own power, And the greatest thing that I ever receive from my students is that twinkle of gratitude in their eye. They come from practice and they're like, that was awesome. Just like that little like twinkle, that sparkle in the eye. I live for that. So it's really cool when I get these messages saying this is what they have found, this is what they've discovered as their success. And that becomes my success too. Like I'm so thrilled for them.
In awe of everything you were just saying there. And this episode's just flown by. Honestly, the time has flown by and there's just so much in there, so much goodness. And I just see the passion oozing from you and it's infectious. So it's always great when somebody is so passionate about what they do. It can really have, a huge impact on the people around you. So I just want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights.
My pleasure. Do you have one more minute?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Would you like to do a handstand? Not a real. Yeah, one exercise that will take 1 minute of your time. I'm looking at my clock. It says 11:54. I think you can do 1 minute.
I have 1 minute, but I don't think I've got the strength to do that.
Okay. So I know it might take you out of the frame. You're welcome to sit or you're welcome to stand, but I want you to bring your hands up in the air.
Okay. Like do this now? Yep.
Yeah, you're going to do this now. I know we didn't.
Okay.
That's okay. So you're going to bring them about shoulder width distance. Look at the space between your hands, like dorsiflex your hands as much as you can. So
back. Oh yeah, back. Got it.
Dorsiflexing your hands, okay? Put them all the way up and overhead. Try to bring your wrist over your shoulder. So you're mimicking a handstand. Basically, try to bring your elbows straight as possible. Yes. Draw the navel into the spine and bring your sit bones down to the floor. Look up. Push up. Okay, breathe. All right. So this is going to be a 1 minute hold and I'm going to time it. All right. So push up, shoulders by the ears. Shoulders are not moving forward. Okay. You're pushing up slowly with control. Stand tall. Breathe. You're still pushing up. You can't push up in handstand if you are looking around. So look up right between the thumbs and space just at the midpoint between the thumbs. Look up. Keep pushing up. So you're going to engage your glutes. Okay, draw the navel into the spine. Keep trying to bring your arm bones back in space as much as possible. Patty, you got this. Try to bring your elbows straight. Breathe. All right. So you have about 20 seconds left. Keep breathing. Push up into your shoulders without moving any part of your body. Keep squeezing your glutes. Imagine the ceiling is coming down on you. Imagine that ceiling represents all the times anyone has ever said anything negative to you. All the times you've said negative things to yourself. Push against it. Go, breathe. Push up, rise above it. Okay. For any unfavorable circumstance, for every boundary, real or imagined, for every bully, every social inequality, for every limiting thought you've ever had, rise above it. Fight for every inch, every second. Push up, Patty. I can see you. Stand confidently. You're almost there. Take a deep breath. And then slowly release your arms by your side. You're being down. How do your arms feel?
It's shattered.
So you were right side up.
Wow. That was really intense. That was physically intense. I didn't realize just putting arms up would cause so much physical, just physical energy that you need for that. That was amazing.
It's awesome. And you probably feel a little bit tingling too. Next time I'll have to warm you up.
Oh, wow. I think people should pay for this episode just to see me doing that because, I'm not giving this away for free. It has to be something that people give me something in return, even a pat on the back, I think.
You definitely get a pat on the back. Well, listen, if you want to take a class and be for free, I give you a code and you can come. Yeah, definitely. But, it's powerful. And then after, did you feel the sensations in your body, like all the tingling?
Yeah. There's a real focus, right, on each different movement of your body because you're just so focused on the task.
Mm-hmm. And it makes you super present.
Yeah.
Hyper present to a level you probably not, because we think we're focused. We're like, yeah, I'm focused. I'm doing this. But actually, 10 different things are running in the background, But in handstand, if you are trying to float up in the air, the second you check out of it, you're on the floor.
What was funny was in my mind, my elbows were straight, and then I looked down and you went, pull up your elbows. And they were literally like that. And I was like, oh my God, they're not even straight. So I hadn't even realized that. So, yeah, just a bit of focus definitely helps.
It's and it's an embodied practice. So I wanted you to experience it.
Thank you so much, Yvette. That was lovely. I am forever grateful. I never thought I would end up in that situation by the end of the podcast, but I'm so glad I did. And I think it's another memorable episode for me. It's something I will be talking about to other people. So I just want to thank you for bringing that experience to me and the listeners.
Oh, thank you so much, Patty, for having me on your show. This was so much fun.